230,000 certificates requested in Russia for families of fallen veterans.
Here's a summary of the article.
Russia's Ministry of Labor has requested 230,000 certificates for family members of deceased combat veterans and over 750,000 certificates for combat veterans, which is several times more than before. Details: journalists who examined documents on the state procurement portal discovered that Russia's labor ministry has ordered 230,000 certificates for family members of deceased war veterans, participants in the Great Patriotic War and combat veterans, as well as 757,305 combat veteran certificates, worth over $79 million in total. The procurement tender foresees that 200,000 certificates for family members of deceased soldiers will be distributed to Russia's Defense Ministry and 30,000 to the Ministry of Social Protection. In May, the Labor Ministry ordered almost 100,000 certificates for combat veterans to be printed, and over 23,000 certificates for family members of the deceased. Last summer, the Labor Ministry signed a contract for the printing of over 82,000 blank combat veteran certificates and nearly 6,000 certificates for family members of deceased soldiers. More details: Vyestka says that in total, since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Russian Ministry of Labor has ordered 936,052 certificates for combat veterans. Since June 2023, certificates for family members of deceased soldiers have been issued to volunteers' families as well as to the families of regular army soldiers.
This post received a score of 5,300, with an upvote ratio of 97%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Putin murdered those people. The families should be in open revolt against Putin's regime.
How could they? Russians are not unfamiliar with revolutions against their dictators. But I suspect your question is truly, how could they without actually having to do anything that might end up getting them jailed, injured or killed? In which case people need to make a choice. Facing the guns of another country or their own. Revolution rarely happens without sacrifice.
In 1917, Russians overthrew the Tsar. They have some experience.
I expect most of those ones are dead now though.
If anything, Russia's more recent history shows a trend of obedience. Generations of totalitarianism has done that.
Bearing one revolution, the entire history is one of drunken obedience.
230,000 Russians killed? Jesus, that is hard to even fathom. What a meat grinder. At this rate, Putin will just genocide his own people.
The demographics were already before the invasion pretty bad. They never recovered from previous losses.
So, no matter what Russia loses in the end, good work Putin, I hope realizes just how much he fucked up before he goes. He probably has 15-ish years left in him. If he somehow goes out naturally, that should be enough to see his ambitions crumble and burn and his place in history next to the Caligulas and John, Magna Carta, of England.
Putin is already 70, possible sick, countless enemies even among people he see every day. I doubt he'd be around for another 15 years.
His parents lived into their 90s. I see people talking about cancer and shit, but he does have good genetics.
Stress isn't great for your health and he may be feeling a little ATM.
His parents lived under Stalin and survived the siege of Leningrad. They were no strangers to stress.
Does this confirm the enemy losses that Ukrainians report?
It's allegedly from official Russian ministry document sources, so their bureaucracy can't hide it, it seems.
Turns out that people look for their family members when they go missing.
The whole effing thing is disgusting and an affront to humanity.
Sadly, Russians are very tolerant to mass casualties. They don't really value their soldiers' lives as much as the West does with their soldiers. They could amass 1 or even 2 mil dead soldiers and the people would be okay, and so would Putin. His only worry would be finding ammo in gear. In fact, the Russian military probably values that more than their soldiers.
13 service members were killed in one day as we evacuated Afghanistan, and it was one of our darkest days in a long time. 230,000 equates to 16.5 casualties per hour.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.